Live from Kansas City. It's the show that just made some very controversial picks. Danny, welcome.
Thank you.
Your pick is coming up.
You picked a blowout, bro.
I didn't pick anything
brave.
that hasn't happened in the last 6 months.
Facts.
Technically not true.
7 months. 7 months. Look, I don't think if I look over at my banner, which I didn't know was going to be hanging there, 40-22 does sound ridiculous. At the same time, little known fact, the last time these two teams met, it was 40-22, bro.
I give you credit, Wilds. I mean, you could have had Kevin Wilds then.
Yeah.
I understand.
You
It's a big thing to pass up.
integrity, and you stuck with your gut. So I'll give you credit.
We're gonna find out in about 15 minutes who Danny's going with. He used to work here and live here, met his wife here. His best friend is from here.
That's right.
And
I love Kansas City.
he's smart. So that should be a pretty obvious one.
I'll be honest,
The way
Danny,
he said that.
the heel corner is getting full with me, Greg, and Brew. So
Yeah, a lot of you guys have played the heel well. And
the hero corner is wide open.
do you still
Just
feel
Nick
beloved
Wright.
in Kansas City?
Of course I'm beloved in Kansas City.
It's interesting.
They have an interesting way of.
Oh, they're yelling Brew. No, it's me, Wilds. They keep yelling Brew. They love the
Brewing,
show.
they're brewing.
Love the show. What would a Chiefs blowout mean?
Is that the question here?
No, what would an 0-2
What would an
start
0-2
mean?
start
Oh.
mean? I thought is what we were doing here. Maybe the yeah.
I've got blowout on the brain.
No,
I'm sorry.
that's fine.
What Mahomes' first ever
House's World.
It would mean for the first time since Mahomes' first year as a starter, they're going to have to play some meaningful regular season games. Every Chiefs, it's just true. They win the division since Mahomes passed his first year as a starter by somewhere from 3 to 5 games every year. They are, they have at the very least home field in the first round, if not throughout the playoffs, locked up well before week 18. You fall to 0-2 against what I believe is a good, but I don't believe great Eagles team yet. I think if they're going to be great, their defense is going to have to show market improvement over the course of the year with all the new players. It's going to mean it's going to be a battle. And here is maybe the most important piece of it, they would oddly be facing the unprecedented for Kansas City true must win in week 3. Now, luckily, they were playing the New York Giants, but to fall to you fall to 0-3 with a loss to the Giants, then all of the media naysaying maybe had a point. But it will, the idea that it says anything about their chances of doing what they do every year, which is play in the conference championship game at a minimum, it would, to me, say nothing about that.
But there's been no 0-2 team to go to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl since these playoffs have been expanded. Because the goal isn't the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, but that's
not
like
the
how
goal.
long? We're talking about in the last 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah, but it hasn't happened for any 0-2 team since 2007.
Yep.
It's hard. It's hard to be a great team and start 0-2. And it would be 3 straight losses. I don't expect diehard Chiefs fans to feel less invincible, but I do think the rest of the NFL would say, they only had 4 blowout wins last year. They got blown out in the Super Bowl. They lost on a neutral field. Andy Reid with extra time. That's normally his superpower. The Chargers just beat him in that scenario. And then the Super Bowl rematch facing 0-2, you lose again. The Giants would, you could say wrongly, the Giants would believe the Chiefs are vulnerable if the Eagles win this game.
Well, the Giants can believe whatever they want. They're not beating the Chiefs. All right. So,
I agree with you, but I'm saying the rest of the league will believe it.
All right. And also on the 0-2, remember, most of those years they played 16 games, not 17. So that makes a little bit of a difference. So look, 0-2, I agree with Nick, would mean nothing as far as me thinking the Chiefs are still would have a legitimate chance of getting to the Super Bowl, still will be one of the best teams in the league. But what 0-2 would tell me is, one, for the first time since Mahomes, because I disagree with the not having meaningful regular season games. Because remember a few years ago when was it 3-4 they started, or 4 or 5?
5 years ago they started 3-4.
So they've had some before. But I think this would really put the AFC West title in jeopardy, not because they don't have enough time, but with the Chiefs starting 0-2, looking vulnerable, and how good the Chargers are, I would think, okay, this might be the first year they don't win the AFC West, but I would definitely think they still had a chance at getting to the Super Bowl. And Danny is right. The mystique would be all but gone around the league.
That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, that mystique would be gone, and every game now is going to be tougher because teams really believe they can beat you.
See, so this to me is a great example and a bit of proof of what I'm talking about with the Chiefs somehow being judged in their own category, but not, you would think they get judged in their own category in a positive way because they've been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. No one's ever done that. But it's the opposite. Last year, a universally held contender who had a great season the previous year started 0-2 with one of the losses not coming to a potential playoff team or Super Bowl contender. That loss came to the Raiders. And no one was saying, well, no one's scared of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry anymore. The mystique of the
Baltimore hasn't had that mystique. Only one team has it, and that's the Chiefs.
But there was, we weren't saying that, oh, now they better worry about their division. We weren't saying that this signals that Baltimore is in some real trouble. And I know you're not saying that. Like, that's the part that I can't get. That if the Detroit maybe, because we had less faith going into this year, but it seems like that if any of the other top flight teams played back-to-back weeks against teams that the Vegas thought were going to be playoff teams, you know what I mean? And let's assume, again, I'm assuming they're not blown out like you're saying. They play a good game and lose to Philadelphia. I don't think people will be freaking out. And I think we are creating, it's almost faux panic for a team because there's been so little intrigue about where this team's going to end up at the end of the year over the last half decade.
If they start 0-2, the second loss coming on Sunday to the Eagles, Danny, would you buy that there would be a new bully on the block? That it wouldn't be the Kansas City Chiefs, which it has been for several years, that the Eagles kind of take that mantle as Super Bowl champions and they have sort of hit the Goliath of the NFL?
I think that's already happened. The AFC goes through Kansas City, but if you win the Super Bowl and you are the preseason favorite, which is what the Eagles were, I feel like the bully on the block are your Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
See, so I guess that it wasn't when the Rams won the Super Bowl, we didn't say the next year say, all right, they're the team that everyone has to go through. And we have had, this is the point I'm making, Brew, and I think you'll agree with me. We have done this now with 4 different teams, saying that teams that have accomplished, none of them other than Philly now, had won a Super Bowl when we did it with them. We did it with Cincinnati based on 1 playoff win. We did it with Buffalo based on regular season dominance, and we did it briefly with Baltimore based on them blowing people out. That team is the new standard. That team is now the team to beat, and that I think is just foolish. I didn't feel like that in 20, and I know you don't love these, but when the Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl against the defining dynasty New England Patriots that actually we now know prevented the Patriots from three-peating, I didn't feel that the next year Philadelphia was the team to beat. And if Philadelphia had beaten the Patriots in week 2, I still wouldn't have. It was the Patriots era. They were in the midst of 8 straight conference championship games and 4 Super Bowls in 8 years or 6 years, whatever it was. And everyone acknowledged that. For some reason, or 3 Super Bowls in 6 years, they are so quick to say, nope, the Chiefs have lost it.
Well, here's where I agree with you. The Chiefs are judged by a double standard. Because they've been so great, that's the standard they've created. It's like a boxer, a heavyweight fighter, who's knocking everybody out for years. And then he has several fights in a row where he wins. I'm not even going to say he loses, but he doesn't knock anybody out. He lands great punches and doesn't knock them out. People would start, even as he continues to be great, people would start wondering, is he still what he used to be? He's not knocking guys out anymore. So it's really out of respect for the Chiefs having created this incredibly high standard. But when we see them lose games, we're not used to seeing them lose games, and let alone important games, let alone games where they go into them like, this is a must win. And that's why we would overreact perhaps to a loss, and to a third straight loss.
I mean, the results last year were dominant, 15-2 in a Super Bowl appearance. But when you watched, they didn't feel dominant. They only had 4 blowout wins. They close games in the playoffs. The Houston game was 13-12 going into the fourth quarter. Like, they just did not feel dominant last year.
I don't want to be dismissive, and this isn't directed at you because
It's okay.
that is a
Definitely is
sentiment.
going to be.
Yeah, I know. It's a good preamble, and here comes the dismissal.
That is a
Get ready.
sentiment shared by so many people in the media. I could not care less how the Chiefs make you feel. As long as they have been every year there, and the last 2 years, 3 years actually, legitimately doubted each step. What are they going to look like without Tyreek? How are they going to win on the road? All of these close wins are fugazi, and they're not going to get there. And they play in the Super Bowl every year, and then people are like, yeah, but I felt so much more warm and fuzzy watching the Detroit Lions, which I heard all of last year. And drop your point differential championship, Detroit, because it's the only one you got. Like, I just don't buy it.
I like that. Felt like a shot at me, but I still liked it. Turn our attention to the quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts. Last time he was in Arrowhead, he left with a win. His coach left Arrowhead yelling at fans. Okay, Brew, what would it mean if Jalen Hurts outplays Patrick Mahomes?
For the most part, nothing.
Really?
He's not better than Patrick Mahomes. For him to even get in the conversation, I still wouldn't say he's better than Mahomes, but if you want to say he, for the time being, is the best quarterback in the league, that conversation doesn't begin until he wins this year's Super Bowl. Like, no regular season win. I don't care if he outplays Mahomes, because it is a team game, and he has the better receivers, the better running back, the better offensive line. So he should outplay Patrick Mahomes in this game. Mahomes is without his 2 best receivers. So it wouldn't mean much to me. Look, Jalen Hurts clearly has no fear of Mahomes. We've seen Lamar Jackson, not so much Josh Allen, but, guys get shook by the presence of Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I give Jalen credit. That is not him even before he was beating Mahomes. So he deserves credit, but there's no way I'm going to say he's better than Patrick Mahomes if he gets a win on Sunday.
I don't think there's any way I'll say that he individually is better than Patrick Mahomes, even if he wins the Super Bowl. Like, my eyes tell me that Mahomes is better than Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, but the situations are so different. Like, I don't think that's a particularly, weak.
It's not a controversial take anywhere except for on the set you're sitting on right now,
That seems like a fairly obvious observation about who the better quarterback is. But if Jalen Hurts has the game that Justin Herbert just had last week, well, yeah, because now he's got the rings, he's got the hardware, he's the leader, he's the gamer, and you're winning because of him with throwing the ball consistently.
Yeah.
I do think it will change how we talk about how dangerous the Eagles are. It's like, oh, they can do that too? Maybe their defense is a little worse. But if they can be the best running team and one of the best passing teams, because Jalen Hurts looked awesome in that game against Dallas. And we talked about the scramble touchdowns. Like, if he backs up that game where he had the first multi-scramble running game of his career, and he comes out and has 300 yards passing with a few touchdowns through the air, we'll be like, oh, he really can do anything. So I think it'll be more about how we talk about the Eagles than about any individual quarterback ranking.
What do you think about this? It will prove that the Jalen Hurts is a bad matchup for the Chiefs. Not that he's necessarily better, but of every team that he's played multiple times, his 320 total yards, it's the most. So it's like he's a bad matchup for Steve Spagnuolo. He's a bad matchup for Chris Jones. He's a bad matchup for the secondary.
So
he's a bad matchup for KC. Is he better than Mahomes? Probably not. But he's a bad matchup.
So listen, it took us till overtime of our Friday show.
It takes a while to get.
But you got to what I think is a fair point. And this goes back, if you were watching 2 hours ago, when we were talking about rivals. I don't view Jalen Hurts at the tier of player yet, and to Danny's point, maybe ever, but I won't put a ceiling on him because it makes you mad, yet, to where he is eligible to be Mahomes' rival. The Eagles are definitively the Chiefs' rival, like in large part because no one else has been up to the challenge. No, like the only guy who was Tom Brady, and he's calling this game. So but your point of, does Jalen Hurts present specific problems for a Chiefs defense that historically has played its best against the best quarterbacks? That's interesting. Like, that is something that I think is fair. And that's also where, if you want to give Nick Sirianni some extra credit, because he's the head coach but offensive-minded, that does he do his offenses present problems for what the Chiefs try to do? I'll listen to that. Does the fact that they have an offensive line that is solid everywhere so it can hold up against Chris Jones expose that the other Chiefs pass rushers, a lot of their production is based on the gravity caused by Chris Jones? Yep. I'll buy all of that. What I won't buy in any way, shape, or form, and I don't think even Jalen Hurts' beloved mother, who I spoke with before the Super Bowl, would pass a polygraph on, that anything can happen on Sunday that makes anyone who watches the NFL say Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. The other stuff I'll go with you on.
Okay, hey, we've met in the middle there.
Yeah.
It's time now for Parkins Picks. Parkins, are you putting on a costume?
Yeah, please.
I mean, I'm glad there's a Parkins posse, but I got to tell you, this is going to be very, very disappointing when they show the record from last week.
Last week, Nick,
because
it's a small sample.
We're in a new season. Let me make this ridiculous outfit look better for you. So it'll be even funnier when they show your record. Go ahead. Look at this idiot. Look at this idiot. Go ahead.
I'm the idiot that stole your throne.
Yeah.
Rough start to Parkins Picks. That's true. With a 1-2 performance last week. I mean, the Colts was as easy as I thought it was. Nick Wright over here had him as the #1 pick in the draft. They have the best offensive performance of any team week 1. The Texans, if it wasn't for double-digit penalties, that would have been a cover against the Rams. And I got to be honest, I was wrong about the Lions and the Green Bay Packers. But the past is the past. 1-2. Let's get to your 3-0 slate in week 2. We begin in the AFC East with the Buffalo Bills. Favorites were good for me last year. I'm going back to the well. The Bills -6.5. They have dominated the AFC East. Average margin of victory in division games for the Bills the last 5 years is a double-digit victory. So the Bills blowout. I don't think Justin Fields is going to do that again. Top 3 game of Fields' career. The Rams, I doubted them for a week. I said I needed to see it, but I'm back on with it. The Titans might have the worst offense in the NFL, and the Rams defense looked great last week. And if I'm going to bet Matt Stafford and the Rams, I want to do it now when he's healthy. So I will lay the 5.5 points with the Rams. But guys, I met someone who said they paid their rent multiple times last year following Parkins Picks.
Okay.
And so I decided there have been many people here who have been waiting for my pick on this game. And Nick is correct. I got Kansas City in my blood. My mom's family is from Kansas City. I love Kansas City. I love Tank 7 and Joe's and Jack Stack and Waldo and the Plaza and Westport.
This is great.
I love everything about Kansas City. This is my de facto second home. Brew's got a million homes. I got 2. Chicago and Kansas City.
Yeah.
And I love you all. But I love being right more.
Oh,
so I'm on the Eagles.
Oh, my. What a shocker.
-1.5. They're a favorite for the reason. I like being right. I want to pay that man's rent. The Eagles cover the spread.
Excellent television.
I'm with the Sharps. Parkins pick.
Excellent job, number 10.
Thank you.
Excellent work.
Wow.
I love you, Kansas City.
You're the only one.
You guys are all such dopes.
Kansas City loves me. They'll forgive me.
Greg Jennings back on the desk. We're talking about
Xavier Worthy. This is new practice footage. This one's actually old practice footage. He's got this shoulder brace on. Hits a little dance with the shoulder brace, too. I like it.
Yeah.
Jump. This is today's footage.
Smaller brace today.
Smaller brace. The brace is getting smaller and smaller, and oh, come on. He's ready to go. He also hopped on social media and wrote free one. So, Nick, you put on your fake news hat.
Yep.
The hat is fake, but the news is real.
Correct.
You said he is not playing.
Yeah, correct.
But I see him at practice. I see him putting on social media that he wants to play.
Yeah. He's not going to play.
Okay.
And that's the smart thing to do. If this were a playoff game, I think he'd play. And
Agreed.
But the reason, and then we'll get into the real question, but here's the math on it, so to speak. He is not having surgery. If that thing pops out again, he will need surgery. Surgery will end his season. I think the feeling is the more time you give it to strengthen and heal, the less likely it is to pop out. While I'm not a receiver like Greg and Brew,
Right.
I oddly suffered this exact injury and had to have surgery to fix it because it kept popping out. The hope is that's not what Xavier is going to deal with. The risk is Xavier is kind of my build. So there is a little bit of worry that could happen. But without Xavier Worthy, I actually, to answer the question about Kelsey, KW, don't think this is a Travis Kelsey 150-yard game, Danny. I think this is a Patrick Mahomes completes passes to at least 7, if not 8 guys game. I think this is because while the Eagles secondary is vulnerable, it has 2 great players in it, in Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. But I think you can pick on wherever they aren't. So I think Noah Gray is going to pop out.
Yeah.
I think Tyquan Thornton will make a play. Obviously, Hollywood is going to be the focal point from the deep downfield. And I think Kelsey will be mixed in. But where the Eagles are really good is with Bond and that rookie, Jahad Campbell, in the middle, which is what makes him so tough.
But I think when you say those names and then you say Travis Kelsey's name, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. I don't see any path to a Chiefs win without Kelsey having a big game. Like you can say 7 different guys, that's fine, but someone's going to still need to put the ball in the end zone. Patrick's going to look for him in the red zone. And we've seen the Eagles have the Chiefs number, except when Kelsey had a big game. Like when Kelsey had a big game in the win, he had 81 yards. They scored 38 points. They were targeting him a ton, and he was a no-show in the games where they've lost big. The Chiefs just are not a scary team without their weapons. Mahomes is terrifying. Reed is terrifying. But we've seen it. They've been a pedestrian offense when their big-time receivers have been hurt. So I don't see how they get through without Kelsey stepping up.
He has to have a big game. If the Chiefs are going to achieve success without Xavier Worthy, without some of Rashee Rice, obviously we know he's out because of the suspension. Just because Travis Kelsey is older, we don't expect it every single week. In moments like this, we do expect it.
Yep.
In moments like the Super Bowl, you were expecting it.
That's right.
Everybody out here was expecting it, and we didn't get it. And so if you're Travis Kelsey, you're mindful of that as well. Patrick Mahomes is mindful of that. And you understand offensively, in order for those other guys that you named, Nick, to have the success and to be impactful, Travis Kelsey has to be impactful first.
Yeah, look, when you've lost 2 straight games, you've lost 2 straight to this one team and then 1 to a team that rarely, if hardly ever beats you in the Chargers, in that locker room, the veterans, I believe, are saying, we got to step up. We got to step up to lead the team. So I do think Kelsey's going into this thinking this is a game where I need to have a big one. Strategically, I do think they're going to need to be hitting him underneath and maybe open things up for Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton down the field, and that could really change the game. So I do think Kelsey needs to be big in this game.
Dusty, I don't know if you have the graphic of Mahomes without Worthy and Rashee Rice. But, Nick, it shows here that, look, the touchdowns are still there, 11 and 2 when they are off the field. The yards per pass dropped way down. The percentage of time throwing deep was even further down, and we know that was an emphasis that he wanted to stretch the field. Now, you can say maybe Hollywood and Tyquan Thornton, former Patriot, caught a deep one. Maybe that'll continue. But to me, if I'm the Eagles, like, man, they can't get it down the field without those guys. It's going to be more of a one-dimensional game.
Well, it will be, I think, the style that people don't like, and the style, honestly, that the Chiefs employed successfully in the second half against the Chargers. Because the Chiefs' offense against the Chargers in the second half, if they got every yard possible, given where their drive started, it would have been, I think, 221, and they finished with 214. You know what I mean? They moved the ball as much as they could on those drives, but it is those slow, methodical, you know what I mean? Very
conversions.
Right, third down conversions or fourth down conversions. It honestly is it started, what we saw all of last year is what we saw in the fourth quarter and overtime of the Super Bowl against the Niners, the final game they played before last year, where they had to get points at the end of the fourth quarter. I think it was like an 11-play, drive to end the game. And then in overtime, I think it was a 12-play, ended up being touchdown drive. It is asking so much of Patrick, and I believe he'll deliver, because what is odd and what I will concede about the Chiefs the last couple years, when they have either, just not had the receivers healthy, or the receivers they had healthy are just dropping the ball. They went from a team that 3rd and 17 used to be nothing to a team that a holding penalty feels like it kills a drive.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of teams in the league where a hold, it's like, okay, that's half a turnover. The Chiefs were never that. In this game, without Rice and Worthy, I think that's more of who they are, which is also why I think Travis headbutted Jawan Taylor, because he was so frustrated that he was committing those penalties.
Also, remember about Kelsey, it's tough to get inside the mind of a world-class athlete, but he basically intimated that a huge part of the reason why he came back and even played this season was because of how poorly he played in that Super Bowl against the Eagles. He said he was embarrassed by what he put on tape in that game. And then this week on his podcast, he felt terrible that he ran the wrong depth of his route that hurt Xavier Worthy. That is probably the reason Worthy's not out here. So in terms of his own personal motivation, obviously Super Bowl rematch, huge game, he's going to be motivated anyway. But for him personally, he wants to right the wrong that he did in the Super Bowl.
All right, so I totally agree with the Super Bowl take. I have a question about the Xavier Worthy take, and I want to ask you, Greg. No disrespect to our other receiver, Brew.
That's the wide receiver end of the table.
Yeah. Do you think Travis was lying? Because I do. On the pod, when he said that was my fault, me and Xavier ran into each other, I was at the wrong depth. My gut was, if there was a mistake there, it was Xavier's, not Travis's, and he was being a good vet and a good teammate. Your take, having seen the play.
Yeah, no, he's not lying.
Oh, really?
He definitely ran the wrong depth of that route.
Okay.
They wanted to get the ball to Xavier Worthy. When you want to get the ball to that guy, he's the one that's going to go underneath to really rub shoulders. That didn't happen because Travis was a little too shallow on his and ran into him. But a thing about this game that will be interesting and I'll be looking for is what we did see in that Chargers game. We saw Patrick Mahomes, regardless if Xavier Worthy was out there, go down the field. And whether or not they complete those, I think is irrelevant. You have to force a team to at least play the deep ball. Because if they don't force them to play the deep ball, then all this Travis Kelsey desire to have a big game is eliminated. Because they're going to shrink the field, they're going to play up, and they're not going to allow you to have that. But if you at least show them, we're going to still try to go deep with Thornton. We're going to try to go deep with Brown and give ourselves a chance for that big play that we were hoping to have all this season as far as the light show. Then you will soften up that defense.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.